Hi guys, hope everybody's safe and well. In this video, we're going to just talk about scales and how they relate in different ways to a tonic or root note. So we've learned about the major scale, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And if I play a C scale, just to start us off, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, we hear a root, a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seven, and a root note, again, the tonic. And if I play what's called a parallel scale to C major, I would have C minor. So parallel uses the same root note, but we would have to flat the third, the sixth, and the seventh, and we come up with a minor scale pattern that is whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. And if I played that on C, C, D, E flat, the flat third, F, G, A flat, the flat six, B flat, the flat seven, and C. So built off the same root. And of course that would relate to C major when I play the major scale. And when I play the minor scale, with the flat third, flat six and seven, that would relate to the C minor scale. If I had what we call a relative scale, C major would share the exact same notes. Notice I flatted 3 notes to make the parallel scale, and I started on the same root note. But the relative minor scale would start on the 6th scale degree of C. C, D, E, F, G, A. So if I played up the C scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, and I started the scale there using the same letter names as the C scale, I would get an A minor scale. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. That automatically gives me that whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole pattern. It's starting on the 6th scale degree, and it's a derivative of the major scale. And by that, I mean we're actually starting at the later portion of the major scale, 6th scale degree, where there's a whole step to 7, and then a half step to 8, whole step to 2, 3, half step to 4, if we're calling it all major intervals, whole step to 5, whole step to 6. And the 6 would be the new root note again. So it's really a extraction from the major scale. All of those intervals are already there. So parallel scales use the same root note, but different key signatures, 3 different notes. Relative scales are starting on the 6th scale degree of any major scale that you're playing, and it's going to result in the spacing for a minor scale. So they don't have the same root note, but they do have the same sort of DNA or makeup, hence the relative term. For me, makes sense because I think of the same DNA or makeup in the scale. There are a couple of types of minor scales to mention here too. If I have what's called a melodic minor, I would actually play raised 6th and 7th from the major scale when I ascend and flat those intervals when I descend. So I'll go slowly here. C, D, E flats the minor third, F, G, A is the major 6th, B is the major 7th, and C is the root. So it's combining part minor scale and part major scale. And when it descends, it's completely natural minor. C, B flat, A flat, G, F, E flat, D, C. So I'll play them again. So as you're using this scale, you would probably be playing something that would include those raised notes, like a G7 chord in the key of C. That would be one of the options where I would have that melodic figure that would work, and then having it resolve to a C chord. There's a lot of different reasons that you would change notes in a scale. One of them would be the harmony that you're playing over. And that's true of a harmonic minor scale, hence the harmonic nature or name of the scale. The melodic minor, again, implying that for melodies, you can get some variety and raising those tones and brighten up the scale on the way up, and then have the darker color on the way down. For harmonic minor, it's exactly the same as a natural minor scale until the very end. So what we had there was root, second, major second, flat third, minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, which is A flat in this case, B natural, the raised seventh, and then that concludes the scale at the tonic or C. And it's the same going down. So we have a raised seventh or a half step right next to the root every time we play the root. That is, again, implying that the harmony would use those notes, and that is really, again, a G7 chord is a good example of. So I'm playing a G major type chord where that seventh, the explanation is basically that seventh, that B is the third of the G chord. It's G major, C minor, so that harmonic minor scale is when you're in a minor key and you have a raised seventh, and that is generally a reflection of playing the root chord, the primary chord 1, and the 5 chord major, borrowed from the major key. That's actually a very common chord change to hear, or I should say progression or inclusion in a progression when you have a minor root and a major 5 chord. Very common to hear in folk music, in rock, and blues is another one. If I had a C minor blues, I'd have C minor. The 4 chord would be F minor. And then in the turnaround, be very likely to use a G7, an F minor, and a 1. But not so much that you would use a harmonic minor in the blues idiom. Again, it sounds a little exotic for that. And this is where the experience of listening to music, figuring out what different genres do in terms of their scale uses and chord progressions, it really gives you the keys to unlock that style and to compose in that style or to solo in that style. So that's why it's really important to get yourself familiar, get your ear familiar with major scale. What does its relative minor sound like? What does the parallel minor sound like? What does the harmonic minor sound like? And what does the melodic minor sound like? So there's some things to think about. You can try it in C like I did, and you can try it in other keys as well. And as we start to spell chords, from the diatonic scale or from the notes of the key, we'll look at that, the way that affects a chord progression. Have a great day. Bye-bye.